Hello everyone, welcome back to the FPL Vincenzo channel, and this is my third now FPL case study looking back at last year, and the topic for this one is going to be on premium defenders really, with a big focus on Ruben Diaz, Ibrahima Konate and William Saliba, and the focus being on whether those three players are ownable, particularly if for the next season 25-26 FPL price them sort of in the 5.5 million bracket or higher than that, which is probably where I expect them to be. It's where they've historically been, those sorts of centre-backs for the better teams in the league. We normally get them at sort of 5.5, 6. So at those sort of prices, really, can they compete with fullbacks from lesser teams who maybe won't keep as many clean sheets, but maybe give more promise for attacking returns and things like that. So we'll jump straight into it. And a little bit of a recap on FPL case study 2 that I did, looking at fullbacks and the role of fullbacks, positions of fullbacks, etc. And this was one of the last slides I shared there, looking at returns over the season. So as a little bit of a recap, or for those that haven't seen that video, and for those on audio as well, I've broken down sort of defender expectations into wanting 20 returns over the season. And by returns, I'm listing that as goals, assists, and clean sheets. So it's a combination of attacking returns and obviously the clean sheets that come. And ultimately in my team, I want defenders that I feel like over a whole season are capable of getting 20. So if we look at, this was fullbacks, and if we look at that from last season just gone, Daniel Munoz was the only one that achieved that. He got 21 returns, consisting of 4 goals, 6 assists, and 11 clean sheets, followed by Ryan Aït-Nouri, who's since moved from Wolves to Man City, Josko Gvardiol, Milos Kerkez, who we expect to move to Liverpool now, Cucurella, etc., etc. And my feeling was that there was a collection of defenders, particularly in this list, and others that maybe not in this list, who could be good assets for the coming season, where I feel like 20 returns is very possible. I think there's quite a big collection of attacking fullbacks now who probably have a good opportunity. I would say maybe 1 in 2, 1 in 3 sort of level of opportunity to get sort of in the ballpark of 9, 10 attacking returns. I say Munoz got 10 last year, Aït-Nouri 11, Kerkez 8, Anthony Robinson got 10, Lewis Hall 7 for minimal minutes, Cucurella 7, partly based on a new role at the end of last year, Porro 8. So I think there's a decent collection here of fullbacks capable. And I would say 1 in 3 chance of getting 10 attacking returns. So can we trust these defences to get 10 clean sheets? Well, I think it's reasonable that the likes of Tottenham, Fulham, Newcastle, Bournemouth, these sort of teams are probably in contention for 10 clean sheets and also in contention for 10 attacking returns. And if they did that, that's 20 returns in total. That's the sort of defender I want in my team. So that's sort of phase 1. And then if I compare that to centre-backs, I'll jump on a slide now into sort of the focus of this pod. And this was centre-backs from last year. So again, Milenkovic at Nottingham Forest did manage 20 returns, 13 clean sheets, boosted by 5 goals and 2 assists. Then Virgil van Dijk, 18 returns, made up of 14 clean sheets, 3 goals, 1 assist. Nathan Collins, 17 returns. Fabian Schär, 17 returns. Mark Guehi, 16. Gabriel, 15. Konate, 14. Saliba, 14. Diaz, 11. And I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that no real shock here and no sort of groundbreaking news, but centre-backs are less likely to get frequent attacking returns. Obviously, majority of them have threat from set pieces. Some maybe have threat from open play. I'm looking at Fabian Schär with his long shots. But in reality, I think even the most attack-minded central defenders, so the likes of Milenkovic, Van Dijk, Collins, Gabriel, the sort of defenders that are the targets of set pieces, realistically, I think as an estimate and an average, I think we can probably put a ceiling of 5 or 6 on those attacking defenders. So to get 20 returns, the likes of Van Dijk, Gabriel, you're probably looking at sort of 14 clean sheets from those teams. And again, we may think that's possible. So I've got no big issue with what I would call the attacking heavy centre-backs, particularly from the better teams. So I'll look at Van Dijk and Gabriel as the main examples here. If you said to me next year, 14, 15 clean sheets, 5 attacking returns, I think that's more than possible. So I'll put them in the same group as those attacking fullbacks on the last slide, albeit some of those I think have ceilings above 20. The likes of Munoz, I think, could probably get nearer 25 if Palace can keep 11, 12 clean sheets. But The three at the bottom here are most noteworthy: Konate, Saliba and Diaz. So last year, Konate and Saliba managed 14, Diaz only 11. Attacking returns, obviously not particularly great. Konate got 1 goal and 2 assists. Saliba got 2 goals, no assists, nothing from Ruben Diaz. So these attack light centre-backs, as I'm going to call them for the purposes of this pod, I think are the sort of centre-backs that we've got no trust in terms of their attacking returns. So if we're expecting 20 returns from them, are these defenders capable of 17, 18 clean sheets? And again, that's for us individually to decide the sort of ceilings for these defences. And in a lot of cases, these will be cheaper. You might get Saliba 0.5 cheaper than Gabriel. You might get Konate 0.5, even $1 million cheaper than Van Dijk. You may get Ruben Diaz 0.5, maybe even $1 million cheaper than Josko Gvardiol. Or John Stones, if he can stay fit, who's probably more of a goal threat than Diaz is. So there are benefits to owning these defenders in terms of the cost saving. But in terms of attacking returns, at least, there's not great hope for them based on last season. So there's a big sort of waiting put on them getting enough clean sheets to get to 20 returns. So I'll jump on again and look at these three in a bit more detail. So I've done some digging across the last 3 seasons to see if last year was normal for them, a one-off, below expectation, above expectation, etc. So Saliba, I think, is the most high ceiling of these three. I think it'll probably cost the most of these three this season as well. But if you look at it last year, I say he got 14 returns, which was supported by 12 clean sheets, 130 points. The year before, he made it to the magical 20 returns. He got 21, but Ben Arsenal did manage to keep 18 clean sheets in 23-24. Importantly, he played all 38 games for Arsenal then. And then 22-23, he didn't. He got injured. 15 returns with 12 clean sheets. So he's pretty steady for 2 or 3 attacking returns a year. So what you're basically looking from Arsenal, and obviously Arsenal when Saliba's on the pitch, is can they get 17 returns? I think they are potentially the best defence in the league. If you ask me now to make a prediction in terms of which team will keep the most clean sheets next season, I think it will be Arsenal. But on the basis the Premier League's getting harder, the inferior teams are getting tactically stronger. Obviously, player by player, ability-wise, they're a bit weaker, hence why they're the weaker teams. But tactically, most of them are pretty switched on now, pretty shrewd, pretty smart. And they will take advantage of opportunities and will score goals in terms of lapses of concentration, etc. I think it's quite hard to put any team at a ceiling of 17 clean sheets. Arsenal could do it. I say they kept 18 in 23-24. They could keep 18 again. But I wouldn't want to anticipate or predict now any team probably keeping more than 15 clean sheets next season. I think one team probably will top that. And say Arsenal are most likely. But if I was going to make some predictions, I think there'll be quite a lot of teams that keep around 10. The better teams will probably be up nearer 15. One may surpass 15. So do I have faith in Saliba getting 5 attacking returns? Not based on this recent evidence, no. Even worse for Ruben Diaz, he hasn't got an attacking return in any of the last 3 seasons. So the only points he's got for all of the last 3 years have been, in terms of returns, has been caused by the clean sheets. Not helped either by the fact he struggles to make it to 30 league games in most seasons for various reasons, injury, rotation, etc., etc. So if he's priced at 5.5, I think he's a very difficult pick. It's 11 clean sheets last year, 9, 23-24, 9, also 22-23. So this Man City team may do better defensively next year if they can keep more of their defenders fit. Obviously, Akanji, Stones missed a lot of this year. Rodri as well as that protection in front. But they have bought a lot more of attack-minded attackers, which may sort of upset the balance of the team a little bit. I have some question marks I'll get to in a later pod around sort of the work rate of some of these attackers as well. So I think Man City could be exposed a little bit more pressure put on the defenders to defend, to keep the clean sheets, rather than the team as a whole with their structure helping them keep clean sheets. So, yeah, Ruben Diaz, if he comes in at 5.5, we can't put any sort of hope on attacking returns from him. Fair enough, you never know with a centre-back, he may get a header from a corner here and there. But probably in the mould of Saliba, I think 3 is really the ceiling. So is Ruben Diaz going to be on the pitch for 17 clean sheets? Not for me. And then Konate last, he was a bit different here because he was a bit cheaper last year, I think 5 million. So people weren't sure if he was going to start the season or Gerald Quansah. A lot of people went to Quansah in game week 1 for 4.5, and he was hauled off at half time and his price went down. So I think we're pretty clear now for this year that Konate's first choice with Van Dijk. So probably a reasonable chance here he'll come in at 5.5 for the upcoming season. Harder to gauge over the last 3 seasons because he's obviously competed with other players. He's been injured himself. Joel Matip was around for a period of this as well. So last year was probably the first time he was truly first choice partner of Van Dijk. He did get 11 clean sheets, 14 returns in total. I think he's capable of doing a bit better than that. I think 3 attacking returns, again, the same as Saliba and Diaz, is probably right for him. Are Liverpool going to keep 17 clean sheets? If anything, they look like they're getting more attacking. Frimpong will probably be more advanced than Trent, although Trent got called out for his bad defending. Frimpong will be forward a lot. Kirkes, I think, will be given freedom to get forward like Robinson did in his prime. If Wirtz is into the team with Szoboszlai, all the other attackers, it'll probably mean Alexis McAllister maybe plays a bit deeper. Is a topic for another pod as well before the season starts. So a bit like Man City, I can see Liverpool playing more expansively, getting more people forward and maybe leaving themselves a bit more open to be counter-attacked and transitioned on. Obviously, that makes it harder for clean sheets or less likely for clean sheets, albeit Konate and Van Dijk are very good 1v1 defenders, quick, mobile, strong. In terms of the profile of a defender you want to be defending 1v1, you're probably going to find it difficult to better someone like Konate. So, again, for Saliba, I think you're looking at maybe 14 clean sheets, 15 clean sheets, 2 or 3 returns. Konate had probably put 12, 13 clean sheets, 2 or 3 returns, and Diaz probably 12, 13 clean sheets with no returns. So my projections for all 3 of these for this year is probably going to be in the ballpark of 15 returns, attacking returns plus clean sheets. I would expect, I'll just jump on a slide again here because I've made some projections in terms of prices for this upcoming season. So I've projected that Diaz will come in at 5.5 again, Konate will be 5.5, and Saliba will be 6. If we're expecting 14, 15 returns, I don't think you can own these guys, because the problem is, and I had this a bit last year because I owned Saliba, Gabriel and Raya for a big chunk in the middle of the season. I didn't have Saka. I went with a triple Arsenal defence to be a bit different, thinking they were the best defence, they'd keep the most clean sheets. But all it caused me to do, and this is a learning from last year and a bit of a case study, is I also own Lewis Hall in this period. And he went on a little bit of a streak here where I think he got 3 double-digit returns in 4 game weeks or something. And I benched all of them because I own Saliba, Gabriel. I thought, I can't bench these guys. I also own Trent in that block as well. So they were my 3 defenders. They became basically every week picks because they played for, at the time, the best 2 teams in the league. How could I bench one? Even if they had a trickier game, my mindset was, well, Arsenal know they've got a tricky game. They're a defensive first team. They set up not to concede goals. They obviously, at that point of the season, were quite reliant on set pieces as well. I thought, I'm just going to play the Arsenal guys. They can keep a clean sheet against anyone. And I turned down opportunities to play like Lewis Hall in fairly good home games. And it blocked me. And again, this might be a learning for me and a mindset change for me that maybe I do have to play the attack-minded fullback sometimes rather than the safer centre-back. But do I need to be putting myself in that position by owning this many attacking light centre-backs? And I think that's the solution I've come to heading into this year. It's the way I intend to play moving into 25, 26, that I don't really want to own these guys anymore because you get tempted to play them. If you don't play them, you're thinking, I'm benching a 5.5 million defender. That's not sort of general FPL strategy to do that. And what am I really expecting from them? A clean sheet at best. And really, you're looking at a clean sheet sort of 1 every 2 weeks, maybe even a slightly lower percentage than that. So I think they're quite hard to own. If you compare them to I've put Van Dijk in here as well, who could be 6, he could be 6.5. But if he's also going to get 14 clean sheets like Konate, he's got a much greater set piece risk in terms of winning headers from corners and things. He might get 5, 6 attacking returns. He might have a Milenkovic type season from last year where he gets 7 attacking returns. So he's more viable. And I think he probably is worth paying the extra 0.5 more. But again, you have to be a bit careful because they might block the fullbacks. And I've put on this slide here Munoz, Cucurella, Hall and Porro. And these are all 4 defenders I think could get 20 returns next year across clean sheets and attacking returns. So if you gave me the choice now to spend 5.5 on a Munoz or a Cucurella, because I think both of those will come in at 5.5, I'd much rather own those than a Konate or a Diaz. You're not really going to have, you maybe just about stretched to 2 expensive defenders, shall we say. You might want a Gabriel still because he's a bit like a Van Dijk, isn't he? A bit of a safer pair of hands most weeks because of the higher clean sheet ceiling with some goal threat. But I don't think you want too many of these expensive defenders when we want to be spending the money in midfield and attack. So offer me the choice here between Munoz, Cucurella, Konate and Diaz. I'm picking Munoz and Cucurella every time. I think their capabilities of 20 returns is way higher. And I say in this group as well, you're going to get defenders capable of 20 returns at cheaper price points. I predicted Lewis Hall and Pedro Porro being 5 million. I could be wrong. Porro might be 5.5 in particular. Hall could be. But I'm going for 5 million for both. I think those two can both step up on last year's numbers. Hall, because I think he'll play more minutes. Porro, because the team's going to be better set up towards being defensively resilient than maybe what they were under Postecoglou, under Thomas Frank. So I think their clean sheet numbers will go up. I expect his attacking numbers could still go up as well. So there's a loose plan for this year for me, I think, is to try and own sort of 3 reasonably good defenders here. Probably 3 from that top 4, I think is very likely at this stage. If I can find some other options at 5 million or 4.5, that's all well and good. Centre-backs in general, I think, could be an avoid. I'll talk about this in more detail before the season starts, particularly once we get the prices. But certainly any centre-back who's over 5.5 million, outside of those really sort of attack-focused ones, I think it's really only Gabriel and Van Dijk that tick that. You might just about make a case for Fabian Schär. You might just about make a case for Josko Gvardiol. But really, Van Dijk or Gabriel, I think I'd consider paying 6 for them. Beyond that, it's probably getting a little bit silly for them as well. So I'll jump on again to the next slide. So just some takeaways now. I made 3 points just to conclude here. Just touching on what I've spoken about really in this pod. So the takeaways for the premium centre-backs for this year. My feeling is that the more attacking fullbacks have more scope for 20 returns over the season. So I'd rather have more of them, roll the dice on them in more weeks than these sort of attacking light centre-backs who could keep a clean sheet and maybe play for teams with higher probabilities of clean sheet, but expectations beyond that are thin. The judgment you have to make, or we have to make here as FPL managers, is there any team you think can keep 17 plus clean sheets over the season? If you want to own any centre-back, but I think the pool of centre-backs capable of 5 or more returns is very small. Say Milenkovic did it this year, Nathan Collins did it this year, and those guys will be sort of nearer the top of the list again. They are sort of big set-piece threats, but 7, 8 returns, whatever it was from those two this year, I don't think is sustainable. I think there'll be a decrease on those numbers. So I think realistically, even the more dominant centre-backs from set pieces, I think the ceiling is probably 5 attacking returns. So for those, you're looking at 15 clean sheets. For the attacking light centre-backs, which has obviously been the focus here, you're looking at more like 17, 18. Have that in mind if you ever think about picking them. And if there is a time to pick them, I'll just put this point at the bottom. If there is a time to pick them, I think it's short bursts of fixtures where you might see an increasingly higher clean sheet capability. Let's just say William Saliba or Arsenal have the 3 promoted teams all in a row. Now, we don't know the fixture this year. It comes out tomorrow. But if there's a run of games, particularly at the start, before that first wild card, where I look at it and think, I want to play the wild card in game week 6. In the first 5 weeks, Arsenal play the 3 promoted teams. They play Wolves and they have a home game with Fulham or something like that. That's their first 5 games. It's not inconceivable that Arsenal could keep 4 clean sheets in that run of 5 games. For a little window of games like that, a little block of games like that, I would consider sort of having a Saliba or a Diaz or a Konate. But that's it. I don't think they're long-term holds unless you're going to have them as basically 4th defenders. And I don't think you're going to spend the money on them, 5.5 million, 6 million, whatever it's going to be, to basically be 4th defender or even in a clear rotation as 3rd defender with someone else in the squad who's maybe a bit cheaper. So if you own them, I think there's a very big temptation to play them every week. Maybe you have to get out of that mindset. Certainly I have to get out of that mindset. But I don't really see the point in owning them when there's going to be a lot of attacking fullbacks in similar price points who offer far better value over a longer period. I'd rather say Cucurella over 10 games as a way higher point ceiling than a Saliba or a Ruben Diaz. That's it. Quite a sort of brisk one today. Just wanted to touch on that as a little bit of an overview and a learning for next year, that this is sort of one pool of players that are quite easy to discount when we first get the prices come through. We look at the fixture lists and start sort of making the basis. I know some sites right now have already done some price predictions, and you've got the chance to make some drafts for next year already. I don't intend to do that until the actual game launches. But yeah, I discount, unless when we get the fixtures tomorrow, there's some really big standout games for some of these better teams with the expensive centre-backs. That would be the only loose way I would consider owning them in game week 1. So yeah, thanks for listening for now. I'll do another pod later this week when the fixtures are out. Probably do some sort of alternate view looking at those. But until then, hope you're all doing well and speak to you soon.